For 14 years, a mother in Florida carried a weight the world couldn't see. Her daughter vanished one afternoon in 2007, taken across borders where legal systems collide and cases go silent. Investigators believed the child was alive, hidden, raised on lies about who she really was. The file stayed open. The search never officially ended. It just grew quieter. Then technology bridged a gap that years of investigation could not. Someone was searching for their own past and finding answers that would shatter everything. Before we get into the story, drop a comment with your country and the time right now. The morning begins ordinary. December air settles cool over Clermont, Florida. Holiday lights blink along residential streets. Inflatable decorations shift gently in morning breezes. Inside a modest home, breakfast plates sit on a table. A small pair of shoes waits by the doorway. Scuffed sneakers with pink laces. Jacqueline Hernandez is 6 years old. She has brown eyes and a smile that appears slowly, cautiously. Her world exists between two households. Her parents no longer live together. Custody arrangements dictate where she sleeps, when she eats, which parent drives her to school. She understands this division the way children do, not through legal language, but through packed bags and goodbye hugs that feel temporary. The house smells like cinnamon. A small Christmas tree stands in the corner, decorated with paper ornaments made in kindergarten class. Jacqueline's mother moves through the kitchen, preparing for another ordinary day. She does not know that ordinary is about to shatter. She does not know that within hours her daughter will vanish. She does not know that 14 years will pass before she holds her child again. Outside, neighbors hang wreaths, cars back out of driveways, school buses idle at corners. The community operates inside routines built over generations. Everyone knows someone. Doors stay unlocked during daylight. Children ride bikes unsupervised. This is a place where fear has not yet redefined safety. But fear is coming. Jacqueline's shoes remain by the door. They will stay there long after she is gone, untouched, preserved, a silent reminder of the child who should have returned. Afternoon arrives without warning. One moment, the world follows its expected rhythm. The next, everything stops. Jacqueline is gone. Her mother searches the house. She calls her name. She checks bedrooms, closets, the backyard. Panic builds slowly, then erupts. She grabs her phone. Her hands shake as she dials. First, family, then authorities. Within minutes, officers arrive. They ask questions. Who saw her last? When? Where? The answers come fast. Jacqueline was last seen with her biological father, Pablo Hernandez. He picked her up earlier that day. It was scheduled. Legal, part of the custody arrangement, but he never brought her back. The detective listens carefully. This is not a random abduction. This is not a stranger pulling a child into a vehicle. This is something more deliberate. The father has taken his daughter and disappeared. Officers move quickly. They contact Pablo's known addresses. No answer. They check phone records. Nothing recent. They review custody documents. The relationship between the parents has been strained. Legal disputes, conflicting schedules, tension that never fully resolved. One officer returns to the mother. His face is tight, professional. He explains what happens next. They will treat this as an abduction. They will issue alerts. They will involve federal agencies if necessary. But he does not say what she needs to hear. He does not promise her daughter will be home tonight. Neighbors begin gathering outside. Word spreads through the street. A child is missing. The quiet community shifts into something unfamiliar. Concern replaces routine. Strangers exchange glances. Parents pull their own children closer. A police cruiser parks in front of the house. Lights flash red and blue against the afternoon sun. The ordinary day is over. The search has begun. Night falls. The temperature drops. Inside the Clermont Police Department, phones ring constantly. Officers coordinate with state agencies. A decision is made quickly. An amber alert is issued. Within minutes, the alert spreads across Florida. Emergency notifications appear on phones. Highway signs flash urgent messages. Radio stations interrupt programming. Television screens display Jacqueline's photograph, a school portrait showing a small girl with dark hair and a shy expression. The text is simple, direct. A 6-year-old child has been abducted. Her name is Jacqueline Hernandez. She was last seen with her biological father, Pablo Hernandez. Anyone with information is urged to contact authorities immediately. The detective reviews the alert on a computer screen. It contains everything law enforcement can share without compromising the investigation. Physical descriptions, clothing details, vehicle information, contact numbers for multiple agencies. But it does not contain hope. It contains urgency. Officers begin receiving calls. Some are helpful. Others are speculative. A few are false. Each tip is logged, assessed, and followed. Investigators know the first hours matter most. They know abducted children who cross state lines become exponentially harder to locate. They know time is already working against them. The mother sits in a small room at the police station. She cannot stay home. She cannot sit still. She watches officers move through hallways, speaking in low voices. She sees maps spread across desks. She hears phones ringing endlessly. She wants to do something, anything, but there is nothing she can do except wait. Outside, news crews arrive. Reporters set up cameras. They request interviews. The mother declines. Not yet. She is not ready to speak publicly. She is not ready to say the words aloud, that her daughter is missing, that someone took her, that she does not know if she will ever see her again. Across Florida, strangers see the alert. Some share it on social media. Others print the photograph and tape it to windows. The image of Jacqueline Hernandez begins spreading beyond official channels. Her face becomes recognizable. Her story becomes collective. Morning arrives. The search expands. What began as a local investigation now involves multiple states. The detective coordinates with the FBI. Federal agents review transportation records. Airports receive notifications. Border checkpoints are alerted. Port authorities scan passenger manifests. Jacqueline's photograph circulates through law enforcement databases nationwide. Officers in distant cities receive bulletins. They check hotels, bus stations, rest stops. They question transportation workers. They review security footage from highways and transit hubs. Inside the command center, a large map covers one wall. Pins mark locations. Red for confirmed sightings. Yellow for unverified reports. Blue for areas of interest. The map grows dense with markers. Each represents a thread investigators must pull. But patterns emerge slowly. Travel records suggest movement toward the southern border. Pablo Hernandez's vehicle was spotted on surveillance footage near Interstate 75 heading south. Credit card activity stops abruptly, indicating he switched to cash. Phone records go silent. He is disconnected digitally. The detective briefs federal agents. The consensus forms quickly. Pablo is not hiding locally. He is running, and he is running toward Mexico. This changes everything. Mexico represents a jurisdictional boundary. Once across, legal authority diminishes. Extradition becomes complicated. International cooperation becomes necessary. The case shifts from urgent pursuit to diplomatic procedure. Social media activity intensifies. Strangers share the Amber Alert. Online groups dedicated to missing children pick up the case. Theories circulate. Some believe Pablo planned this for months. Others suspect he acted impulsively. All agree on one thing: Jacqueline is no longer within easy reach. The mother watches the map. She sees the pins spreading farther from home. She sees the red markers disappearing, replaced by yellow uncertainty. She sees investigators shifting from immediate action to long-term strategy. She does not accept this transition. She refuses to believe her daughter is gone permanently. She refuses to let urgency fade into procedure. Officers continue working. They contact Mexican authorities. They file international requests. They coordinate with agencies designed for cross-border family abductions. The machinery of justice begins moving, slowly, methodically, without guarantee. Hours turn into days. The map continues growing, the search continues widening, and Jacqueline remains missing. Days pass, then a conclusion forms. Investigators believe Jacqueline has crossed into Mexico. The evidence is circumstantial but compelling. Pablo's last confirmed location was near the Texas border. Vehicle sightings stopped abruptly at a crossing point. No further financial activity appears in U.S. records. No phone pings registered domestically. He has effectively disappeared and taken his daughter with him. Border notifications were issued immediately, but they came too late. If Pablo crossed before the alerts activated, authorities had no reason to stop him. A father traveling with his young daughter raises no automatic suspicion. Custody documents are not routinely verified at international checkpoints. By the time law enforcement understood his intent, he was already gone. The detective explains this to Jacqueline's mother. The words are careful, measured. Once across the border, legal processes change. U.S. law enforcement cannot simply retrieve a child from Mexico. International agreements govern these situations. Cooperation is required. Patience is mandatory. The mother hears these words and understands their meaning. Her daughter is beyond immediate reach. The urgent search is ending. The long wait is beginning. Federal agents file formal requests with Mexican authorities. They provide Pablo's information. They share custody documents. They explain the circumstances, but they cannot force action. They cannot demand immediate response. They can only wait for cooperation. Public discussion shifts. Early hope fades. People begin using phrases like "unfortunately" and "difficult circumstances." News coverage decreases. The Amber Alert expires after the designated period. Jacqueline's case transitions from breaking news to ongoing investigation. The mother refuses to accept this shift. She contacts advocacy organizations. She researches international parental abduction. She learns terms like Hague Convention and extradition treaties. She discovers that cases like hers often take years to resolve, if they resolve at all. Fear grows that Jacqueline may never return, that she will grow up in another country, raised on stories that rewrite her history, that she will forget her mother's face, her voice, the life she left behind. The detective keeps the file active. Tips still arrive occasionally. Possible sightings in Mexican border towns, unconfirmed reports from travelers. None lead anywhere conclusive. All are documented. None bring Jacqueline home. An investigator stands before the map. The pins have stopped moving. The search has reached its first major barrier. And beyond that barrier, a 6-year-old girl disappears into uncertainty. Months pass. Jacqueline's mother refuses silence. She begins speaking publicly. Local news stations interview her. She sits in living rooms holding her daughter's photograph. She describes Jacqueline's personality, shy but sweet, quiet but observant. She explains the circumstances of the abduction. She asks anyone with information to come forward. Her voice never breaks. Her message never wavers. She will not stop looking. She will not let people forget. Advocacy organizations reach out. Groups dedicated to recovering missing children offer support. They provide resources, legal guidance, and emotional connections with other families. Enduring similar circumstances, she attends meetings. She learns strategies. She discovers she is not alone. Together, they organize awareness events, candlelight vigils in community parks, informational booths at public gatherings, social media campaigns that keep Jacqueline's face circulating. Each event is small. Each represents refusal to surrender. Flyers appear throughout Clermont and surrounding areas. Jacqueline's photograph beside contact information for law enforcement. Missing, abducted, last seen, the words are stark. The image is heartbreaking. Strangers see the flyers and feel something shift inside them. Empathy, concern, a quiet promise to watch, to remember, to help if possible. Online forums dedicated to missing children pick up the case. Members share updates, they discuss theories, they offer encouragement to the mother. Some are helpful, others are speculative. All reflect genuine desire to see Jacqueline return safely. The mother's life becomes defined by this work. She balances employment with advocacy. She manages grief while maintaining hope. She answers the same questions repeatedly, knowing each interview might reach someone who knows something. Officers continue investigating. Leads remain sparse. Possible sightings in Mexico surface occasionally, but none are confirmed. The trail stays cold. Still, the mother persists. She speaks at conferences for missing child awareness. She participates in legislative discussions about parental abduction. She transforms personal tragedy into public mission. At night, she lights a candle. She places it in the window. She does not pray. She simply refuses to let darkness be absolute. The flame burns alone, small but steady. Seasons change. Holidays arrive and pass. Jacqueline's birthday comes. The mother marks it quietly. She does not celebrate. She remembers. She waits. She hopes. The community watches her endurance with quiet respect. Some cannot imagine maintaining such determination. Others understand completely. Everyone recognizes that Jacqueline's mother will never stop fighting. The investigation continues across borders. The Clermont Police Department maintains primary responsibility, but the case now involves multiple agencies. The FBI handles federal aspects. Immigration and Customs Enforcement monitors border activity. International law enforcement partners in Mexico receive periodic updates. Coordination meetings occur regularly. Investigators share information. They review new leads. They discuss strategies. Progress is measured in small increments rather than breakthroughs. Reports of possible sightings arrive sporadically. A child matching Jacqueline's description seen in a market in Guadalajara. Another report from Monterrey, Alsace-Moselle. Third, from a small town near the Pacific coast. Each is investigated, none are confirmed. The detective assigned to the case maintains detailed records. Every tip is logged. Every follow-up is documented. The file grows thick with paperwork, timelines, and maps. But it does not grow thick with answers. Mexican authorities cooperate within their capabilities. They search databases, they question contacts, they follow leads when actionable information appears. But Mexico is vast. Resources are limited. Without specific location data, finding one child becomes nearly impossible. Investigators develop a working theory. They believe Pablo moves Jacqueline between locations to avoid detection. He likely uses cash exclusively. He probably avoids official documentation. He may have changed his appearance. He might have changed his daughter's appearance as well. This theory explains the sporadic sightings. It explains the lack of confirmed information. It explains why the case remains frozen despite ongoing effort. Federal agents monitor known associates. They track family connections. They review financial records for anyone who might assist Pablo. Occasionally patterns emerge. Bank transfers to Mexico, phone calls to border regions. But nothing provides definitive location data. Years pass this way. The case remains active but stalled. Investigators do not give up, but they also do not expect sudden resolution. They understand this may require patience measured in years, possibly decades. News coverage thins to near invisibility. Only dedicated followers remember Jacqueline's name. Only specific audiences recognize her photograph. The general public moves on. Crime news cycles through new tragedies. Fresh disappearances demand attention, but the mother refuses to let memory die. She continues posting updates. She continues organizing events. She continues speaking Jacqueline's name aloud, ensuring that somewhere, someone still remembers a little girl who vanished one December afternoon. The detective keeps the file open. The photograph remains pinned to a bulletin board, and across an international border, Jacqueline grows older, unseen, unreachable, but never forgotten. Silence settles over the case like dust. Jacqueline's file transitions into the long-term missing category. It remains active within national databases. Her information stays accessible to law enforcement nationwide. Age progression images are created periodically, showing how she might look as she grows older. But no new leads emerge, no breakthroughs occur. The investigation continues, but movement stops. The detective reviews the file occasionally, not daily anymore, not even weekly, but regularly enough to ensure nothing is missed. Tips still arrive sometimes, sparse, often unreliable, rarely actionable. Each is assessed. Most are dismissed. A few require minimal follow-up. None change the fundamental reality. Jacqueline is gone. The case exists in a strange space. It is not abandoned. It is not forgotten, but it is also not active in the traditional sense. Investigators understand that resolution may only come through chance, a random encounter, a voluntary disclosure, or Pablo's eventual capture for unrelated reasons. They also consider another possibility. Jacqueline may have been raised under a completely altered narrative. She may not know she was abducted. She may believe her mother abandoned her or died or never wanted her. She may know Pablo only as a loving father who protected her from danger. These scenarios are common in parental abduction cases. Children raised on rewritten histories often never question them. This possibility weighs heavily. If Jacqueline does not know she is missing, she will never seek help. She will never reach out. She will simply live her life, unaware that another version exists. The mother understands this. She has read the statistics. She knows that many abducted children are never recovered. She knows that international cases face even steeper odds. She knows that time works against memory, identity, and truth, but she does not accept defeat. She continues her advocacy work, though with quieter intensity. Public attention has faded. Media interest has vanished. Social media posts receive fewer engagements. The vigils grow smaller. The community's active participation decreases. Yet she persists. Not because she expects immediate results, but because stopping feels like surrender. And she will never surrender. On Missing Children's Day each year, a brief news mention appears, a short segment reminding viewers of local cases still unsolved. Jacqueline's photograph appears for a few seconds. Her story is summarized in 2 sentences. Then the broadcast moves on. The file drawer closes softly. The sound is barely audible, but it echoes through the years that follow, a quiet reminder that some cases do not end. They simply wait. Time continues forward. Jacqueline is no longer a missing child. She is a missing teenager, then a missing young adult. Her age progression images reflect this transformation. The shy 6-year-old with brown eyes becomes a theoretical adolescent, then a hypothetical adult. Investigators acknowledge the shift. The search methods must adapt. A missing adult is categorized differently than a missing child. Public sympathy changes. Legal approaches evolve. The emotional urgency that drove early efforts fades into procedural maintenance. The detective receives updated age progression renderings from forensic artists. They use software that predicts facial development. They account for bone structure, genetic markers, and aging patterns. The results are scientific estimates, educated guesses at what Jacqueline might look like now. These images are distributed through missing person networks. They are uploaded to databases. They are shared with law enforcement agencies in Mexico and across the United States. But they are not news. They do not generate headlines. They simply update records. The mother looks at the progression images and sees a stranger, The little girl she remembers has been replaced by a theoretical young woman. She tries to imagine her daughter's voice deepened with age. She tries to picture her mannerisms, her interests, her personality shaped by years of experiences the mother never witnessed. The emotional weight becomes complex. The mother grieves not only the absence, but the transformation. Her daughter is growing up without her. Birthdays pass uncelebrated. Milestones occur unwitnessed. First days of school, graduations, coming-of-age moments all happen somewhere beyond reach. Other families with missing children understand this particular pain. They gather occasionally at support groups. They share their experiences. They validate each other's endurance. Some cases have resolved. Others remain open for decades. All carry the same burden, the uncertainty of never knowing. Aging case files compete with new investigations. Resources shift toward fresh leads. Cold cases receive periodic review, but rarely intensive focus. Jacqueline's file remains accessible. Her information stays current, but active pursuit has transformed into passive monitoring. The public has largely forgotten. Only those directly involved remember. Only those who lived through the early urgency still carry the story. To everyone else, Jacqueline Hernandez is a name in a database, a photograph in an archive, a statistic in a report about unsolved abductions. But to her mother, she remains everything. And so the waiting continues. Then, unexpectedly, everything changes. A message appears on social media. It is directed toward missing child organizations. The language is careful, hesitant. The sender claims to be Jacqueline Hernandez. She believes she was taken as a child. She wants to reconnect with her family, but she needs help. She needs safety. She needs verification. The message is forwarded to law enforcement immediately. The detective receives notification within hours. The text is reviewed carefully. Every phrase is analyzed. Every detail is cross-referenced against case information. The message contains specific information, details about Clermont, references to family circumstances, memories that align with known facts. The sender describes Pablo as her father. She mentions Mexico. She describes growing up with limited information about her past. She explains that only recently did she begin questioning the narrative she was given. This is not a random claim. This is not speculation. This is someone who knows things only Jacqueline would know. Law enforcement responds cautiously. They cannot assume authenticity immediately. False claims occur occasionally in high-profile cases. Individuals seeking attention or attempting scams sometimes impersonate missing persons. Verification is essential. The detective initiates contact through the provided account. The conversation is controlled, professional. Questions are asked, specific, detailed, designed to confirm or contradict identity. The responses are measured but consistent. The person on the other end demonstrates knowledge that extends beyond public information. Hope stirs, carefully, tentatively, but undeniably. The mother is informed but urged toward patience. Investigators explain the verification process. They explain the need for caution. They explain that confirming identity requires more than online conversation. But they also acknowledge something critical. This is the most significant development in nearly 14 years. Within the missing child advocacy community, word spreads quietly. Organizations that supported the mother from the beginning followed the development closely. They do not publicize. They do not celebrate prematurely. They simply watch, hope, and prepare for whatever comes next. The detective reviews the original case file, every photograph, every document, every piece of evidence collected years earlier. All will be necessary for verification. All may become critical for reunion. A phone screen glows in a dark room. The message remains visible. The words are simple but profound. She believes she is Jacqueline, and she wants to come home. Verification begins immediately. Law enforcement treats the claim with procedural seriousness. Identity must be confirmed through multiple methods. Communication continues carefully. Investigators ask questions designed to eliminate false claims. They request information only Jacqueline would possess. They compare responses against sealed case details. The answers align consistently. The person communicating provides memories from childhood. She describes the house in Clermont. She recalls specific toys, specific rooms, specific moments. She describes her mother's appearance. She describes the custody arrangement. She describes the day she was taken, not as an abduction, but as a trip with her father that never ended. She explains that for years she accepted the narrative given to her. Pablo told her that her mother could not care for her, that returning to the United States would be dangerous, that staying in Mexico was necessary for safety. She grew up believing these explanations. She did not question them because she had no reason to doubt her father, but recently something shifted. She encountered information online, a missing person listing, a photograph that looked familiar, a name that stirred buried recognition. She began researching. She found news articles from 2007. She found advocacy posts from her mother. She found the Amber Alert issued years ago. The realization came slowly, then overwhelmingly. She was not protected. She was taken. Law enforcement evaluates this account. It matches known patterns in parental abduction cases. Children raised under false narratives often accept them completely until external information introduces doubt. The timeline makes sense. The emotional progression feels authentic. But feelings are not verification. Facts are required. Investigators request additional proof. They ask for photographs. They request documentation. They seek anything that can be cross-referenced against existing records. The responses are cooperative. She understands the need for caution. She provides what she can. Location indicators are analyzed. Communication metadata is reviewed. Everything suggests the sender is currently in Mexico, near the border region. Everything aligns with investigative theories about where Pablo might have taken Jacqueline. Federal agents consult with specialists in family abduction cases. They discuss verification protocols. They assess risk factors. They consider the possibility of coercion, that Pablo might be aware of the communication and controlling it. They consider the possibility of elaborate deception, but ultimately, the evidence leans toward authenticity. The details are too specific. The consistency is too strong. The emotional tone matches expectations for someone rediscovering their true identity. A plan forms. If this is truly Jacqueline, she needs to be brought safely across the border. A controlled meeting must be arranged. Officials from multiple agencies must be involved, and her mother must be prepared for the possibility, faint but real, that her daughter is coming home. A meeting is scheduled at the U.S.-Mexico border. Law enforcement coordinates carefully. The Clermont Police Department works with federal agents. Border personnel are briefed. Procedures are established. The goal is safety, verification, and, if everything confirms, reunion. The location is chosen strategically, a controlled crossing point with secure facilities, private spaces for interviews and examination, medical personnel nearby if needed, everything designed to protect Jacqueline while confirming her identity. Travel arrangements are made discreetly. Jacqueline will arrive separately from her mother. This decision is deliberate. Emotional reunion must wait until verification is complete. The process must remain procedural before it becomes personal. Jacqueline's mother is informed of the plan. She is told when to arrive. She is told what to expect. She is told to prepare for the possibility that this may not be her daughter, that despite all indicators, verification could fail. But she is also told to prepare for the possibility that it will succeed. She cannot sleep the night before. She sits awake, looking at old photographs. She remembers the last time she held Jacqueline. She remembers the child's voice, her laugh, her habits. She wonders if any of those traits remain. She wonders if 14 years have erased the little girl she knew. The detective reviews protocols one final time. Every step is documented. Every action is legally defensible. This must be handled correctly. If Jacqueline is truly recovered, the case will face scrutiny. Media attention will return. Every decision will be examined. Border agents receive final briefings. They understand the sensitivity. They understand the stakes. They maintain professional distance while recognizing the human significance of what may be about to occur. Morning arrives. Vehicles depart before sunrise. Some carry law enforcement personnel. Others carry emotional weight that cannot be measured. The roads are empty. The sky begins shifting from black to gray. Somewhere ahead, at the border, two lives separated for nearly 14 years may finally reconnect. The plan is simple: arrival, verification, confirmation. But simplicity does not reduce intensity. Every person involved understands that this moment represents years of hope, grief, persistence, and survival. The distance closes, the border approaches, and Jacqueline, if it is truly her, moves toward a threshold between the life she was given and the truth she is reclaiming. Morning light touches the border crossing. Vehicles arrive at different times. Border personnel maintain their usual routines, but awareness hums beneath normal activity. They know something significant is happening. They do not know all details. They simply know to watch, to be ready, to provide space when requested. Jacqueline arrives first. She travels alone, crossing on foot through designated pedestrian lanes. She carries minimal belongings. She wears simple clothing. She appears nervous but determined. Border agents guide her to a secure area. The space is private, away from public traffic. She is offered water. She is told what will happen next. She is assured that she is safe. She sits quietly. Her hands fold in her lap. She looks around the room. Sterile walls, government furniture, fluorescent lighting. This is the threshold. Behind her lies the only life she remembers. Ahead lies a truth she is only beginning to understand. Officers observe without crowding. They maintain respectful distance. They document her arrival. They confirm her voluntary presence. Everything must be recorded. Everything must be verifiable. Elsewhere, Jacqueline's mother arrives with law enforcement escorts. She is brought to a separate area. She is told that the person they believe to be her daughter has arrived. She is told that verification will occur first. She is told to wait. Waiting is impossible, but she waits anyway. The detective coordinates between locations. Federal agents prepare verification materials. They gather photographs, documents, and records. They prepare questions. They prepare comparison methods. They prepare for the moment when theory becomes confirmation. Jacqueline is informed of the next steps. She will be interviewed. She will be asked to provide identifying information. She will undergo biometric assessment if she consents. She agrees to everything. She understands. She wants this truth as much as anyone. The border facility operates around them. Travelers pass through standard checkpoints. Vehicles are inspected. Documents are verified. Daily operations continue. But in a quiet corner, something extraordinary is beginning. Jacqueline sits alone, waiting for strangers to confirm what she now believes, that she is not who she thought she was, that her life has been shaped by an absence she never knew existed, that somewhere nearby, a mother she barely remembers is waiting to see if the child she lost has finally come home. The verification process begins. An interview room, a table, 2 chairs, recording equipment positioned discreetly. An official sits across from Jacqueline. The tone is professional, but not cold. Questions are asked calmly, Clearly, she states her name. She states her birth date. She describes what she remembers from childhood in Clermont. She describes the house, the neighborhood, specific details that can be checked against records. Officials compare her responses against sealed case information, details that were never made public, details that only Jacqueline or immediate family would know. She provides them accurately. Photographs are presented, images from 2007, school pictures, family snapshots. She is asked if she recognizes anyone. She studies them carefully. She identifies herself, the child she was. She identifies her mother. She identifies surroundings she remembers. The conversation continues. She explains what she was told about her mother. She explains how she lived in Mexico. She explains the moment she began questioning her past. Her account is coherent, detailed, emotionally consistent. Biometric comparison follows. Facial recognition technology compares current images against photographs from 14 years earlier. Aging algorithms account for time. Bone structure is analyzed. Eye spacing, ear shape, features that remain consistent despite age. The technology confirms high probability of match. Officials step out briefly. They confer. They review all gathered information. The evidence is overwhelming. Every indicator points to the same conclusion. They return to the interview room. They inform Jacqueline that based on available evidence, they believe she is who she claims to be. They believe she is Jacqueline Hernandez, abducted from Clermont, Florida, in December 2007. She does not react dramatically. She simply nods. She knew. But hearing it confirmed makes it real. A document is prepared, identity confirmed, verification complete. A box is checked on an official form. The notation is simple, procedural, but its meaning is profound. After nearly 14 years, Jacqueline Hernandez has been found. She is alive. She is safe. She is home. Officers observe the moment with quiet acknowledgement. This outcome is rare. Most long-term missing cases do not end this way. Most remain unresolved indefinitely. This is an exception. This is the result that families hope for but rarely receive. The detective receives confirmation. The call is brief. The words are measured, but the weight behind them is unmistakable. It's her. In another part of the facility, Jacqueline's mother is informed. She does not speak. She cannot. She simply covers her face with her hands and weeps. The reunion occurs in a private room. No cameras, no recordings. Just two people separated by time and circumstance, finally allowed to exist in the same space again. Jacqueline enters first. She is told her mother is waiting. She takes a breath, steadies herself, and walks through the door. Her mother stands when she enters. For a moment, neither moves. They simply look at each other. The mother sees a young woman she does not fully recognize. Jacqueline sees a face that stirs memories she thought were lost. Then the mother steps forward, her arms open. Jacqueline steps into the embrace. They hold each other without words. Tears come silently. The reunion is not dramatic. There are no declarations, no cinematic dialogue, just two people holding on, trying to bridge 14 years. With a single moment outside, officers maintain distance. They do not intrude. They do not interrupt. They document only the fact that the reunion occurred. They record the time, the location, the participants. They witness, but they do not participate. Minutes pass. The embrace loosens. They sit together. Words come slowly, small questions, gentle answers. Are you okay? Yes. Are you safe? Yes. Did he hurt you? No. Do you remember me? Some. Do you remember home? A little. The conversation is fragmented, hesitant. 14 years is not erased by reunion. It is acknowledged, felt, and carried forward. This moment does not restore what was lost. It begins the process of rebuilding what remains. The mother touches Jacqueline's face gently. She studies the features she missed watching develop. She sees traces of the child she knew beneath the young woman before her. She sees her daughter. changed, grown, but still hers. Jacqueline looks at her mother and sees someone who never stopped searching, someone who never stopped hoping, someone who loved her even when she did not remember being loved. They sit together in silence. The weight of 14 years settles between them, not as barrier, but as shared space. They will navigate together. Observation notes from officials present describe the reunion as quiet, emotional, and mutually consensual. Both parties appeared relieved. Both appeared overwhelmed. Both appeared ready to begin the difficult process of reconnection. Later, when they leave the room, two hands are clasped together. Jacqueline's mother holds her daughter's hand the way she used to when Jacqueline was 6, and this time, she does not let go. After the reunion, reality sets in. Officials meet with Jacqueline and her mother in a briefing room. They explain next steps. They discuss legal proceedings. They outline what happens now that Jacqueline has been recovered. The criminal case remains open. Pablo Hernandez is still wanted. The abduction is still a prosecutable offense. Jacqueline's return does not close the investigation, it transforms it. A case file is updated, status changed from missing to recovered, but the notation beneath reads, suspect outstanding. The file is not closed, it is reclassified. Investigators explain that Pablo will face charges, if apprehended, kidnapping, custodial interference, international parental abduction. The crimes do not disappear because Jacqueline returned voluntarily. The crimes remain, and so does the warrant. Jacqueline listens carefully. She understands that her father committed crimes. She understands that his actions had consequences. But understanding this intellectually does not erase the complication of her feelings. He was the only parent she knew for 14 years. His choices shaped her entire existence. Accepting that those choices were criminal requires emotional processing that will take time. Her mother listens too. For her, the feelings are simpler. Pablo stole 14 years. He deserves to face justice. But she also recognizes that her daughter's emotions are complex. She does not push. She does not demand. She simply offers presence. Officials provide contact information. They explain that support services are available, therapists who specialize in family reunification, legal advocates, resources for navigating the aftermath of long-term parental abduction. They are offered without pressure. They are simply made available. No public announcement has been made yet. The reunion is still protected. Only essential personnel know. This gives Jacqueline and her mother time to adjust before media attention returns, time to breathe before the world responds. The mother looks at the thick file folder in front of the detective. It is marked with her daughter's name. It is heavy with years of documents, reports, and hope. It is stamped returned. But beside that stamp is another, case active. Justice and reunion are not the same. One has been achieved. The other remains waiting, and both will shape the path forward. Following administrative review, legal action is renewed. A warrant for Pablo Hernandez is updated and reissued. The original charges remain: kidnapping, custodial interference, international parental abduction. The warrant is entered into national and international law enforcement databases. It is flagged as active and high priority. Federal agents coordinate with international partners. They request Mexico's cooperation in locating and apprehending Pablo. They provide updated information. They include details from Jacqueline's account. They specify last known locations based on her descriptions. But international law enforcement is complicated. Mexico is not obligated to act immediately. Extradition requires formal procedures. Treaties govern cooperation. Diplomatic channels dictate timelines. The process is not fast. It is not simple. It is not guaranteed. The detective reviews the renewed warrant. Everything is in order. The legal Foundation is solid. The charges are clear. The evidence is documented. But none of that guarantees Pablo will be apprehended. None of that ensures he will face trial. None of that promises justice. Pablo remains somewhere in Mexico. He may know that Jacqueline has returned. He may be preparing to move again. He may have already disappeared deeper into regions where cooperation with U.S. authorities is minimal. Investigators accept this reality. They have done what they can do legally. They have issued the warrant. They have coordinated with Mexican authorities. They have provided all available information. Now they wait. The first controlled public statements begin circulating. Law enforcement releases limited information. A missing child from 2007 has been recovered. Jacqueline Hernandez, abducted at age 6, has been located alive. The suspect remains at large. The investigation continues. The statements are carefully worded. They protect Jacqueline's privacy. They do not reveal details about her life in Mexico. They do not speculate about her experiences. They simply confirm the facts. She was taken, she has returned, and the person responsible has not been held accountable. Media outlets pick up the story. Headlines begin appearing. Missing child found after 14 years. Florida girl reunited with mother. Suspect still wanted. The coverage is immediate and widespread. Public reaction is swift. Social media explodes with responses. Relief, joy, anger toward Pablo, questions about how she survived, speculation about what happens next. The story becomes viral within hours. Inside a quiet office, an investigator adds the updated warrant to digital case records. The file remains open. The search continues. And somewhere beyond reach, Pablo Hernandez remains a fugitive. Law enforcement evaluates the path to justice. International extradition is the next necessary step. But extradition is not automatic. It requires formal requests, legal review, and mutual cooperation. Mexico must agree to arrest Pablo. Mexico must agree to transfer him into U.S. custody. Mexico must prioritize this case among countless others. Federal agents familiar with international law explain the challenges. Extradition treaties exist between the United States and Mexico, but treaties establish possibility, not guarantee. Each case is evaluated individually. Political considerations influence decisions. Resources dictate timelines. Success is never certain. Prosecutors prepare formal extradition documentation. They compile evidence. They detail charges. They present legal arguments for why Mexico should cooperate. The documents are submitted through proper diplomatic channels. Then they wait for a response. Investigators continue gathering intelligence. They monitor known associates. They track financial activity linked to Pablo's name. They coordinate with Mexican law enforcement willing to assist. Some leads emerge. None provide definitive location. Meanwhile, media attention intensifies. Journalists request interviews with Jacqueline and her mother. They want the story. They want the emotional details. They want to know what 14 years felt like. Requests are declined. Privacy is maintained. The family is not ready for public exposure. Advocacy organizations celebrate Jacqueline's return while acknowledging the incomplete justice. They use her case as an example of why international parental abduction requires stronger legal frameworks. They push for policy changes. They demand better coordination between countries. They argue that Jacqueline's story should not be rare. It should be the standard outcome. Legal experts weigh in publicly. Some believe Pablo will eventually be apprehended. Others are skeptical. Mexico is large. Resources are limited. If Pablo has established a new identity and avoids legal trouble, he may evade capture indefinitely. Unless he makes a mistake, he may never face consequences. Inside a briefing room, maps and legal documents spread across a desk. Arrows point toward regions in Mexico. Notes indicate possible locations. Questions outnumber answers. The path forward is visible but uncertain. Justice is theoretically achievable but practically distant. The detective stares at the materials. They have recovered Jacqueline. They have renewed the warrant. They have done everything within their power. But power has limits. Jurisdiction has boundaries. And Pablo Hernandez remains beyond both. Jacqueline's return becomes public knowledge. News outlets publish full stories. They include background on the 2007 abduction. They explain the 14-year search. They describe the social media message that initiated contact. They detail the border reunion. They emphasize the rare positive outcome in a long-term missing child case. Television segments feature interviews with law enforcement officials who worked the case. The detective speaks carefully, praising interagency cooperation and Jacqueline's courage in reaching out. They do not discuss details of her life in Mexico. They do not speculate about her emotional state. They simply confirm facts. The mother releases a brief public statement. She thanks everyone who supported the search. She thanks the organizations that kept Jacqueline's name alive. She thanks investigators who never closed the file. She asks for privacy as her family adjusts. She expresses gratitude for her daughter's safe return. The statement is read on news broadcasts nationwide. Viewers respond emotionally. Comments flood social media. Strangers express joy, relief, and hope that other missing children might also be found, but the story also emphasizes an uncomfortable truth. Jacqueline was not found through forensic technology or investigative breakthrough. She was found because she found herself. She questioned her past. She researched her identity. She reached out voluntarily. Without her courage and initiative, the case might have remained frozen indefinitely. This detail reshapes public understanding of long-term missing cases. It highlights the importance of keeping information accessible. It underscores the value of maintaining digital records. It demonstrates that even years later, a missing person might search for their own truth, and when they do, information must be available. Advocacy groups amplify this message. They encourage families to maintain online presence. They suggest keeping missing person pages active indefinitely. They recommend regular updates even when no progress occurs. Visibility matters. Accessibility matters. Jacqueline's case proves this. Headlines appear across platforms. Found alive. Miracle reunion. 14 years later, she came home. The language is celebratory. The tone is hopeful. The story is framed as victory against impossible odds. But beneath the celebration, a more complex reality exists. Jacqueline returned alive, but she returned changed. 14 years cannot be recovered, experiences cannot be undone, and the person responsible for those lost years remains free. Inside a quiet home, Jacqueline sits beside her mother. They watch the news coverage together. They see their story retold by strangers. They see themselves reduced to headlines. They recognize the truth in the reports, but they also recognize everything left unsaid. Recovery is not restoration. Reunion is not resolution. And coming home is only the beginning of a much longer journey. Adjustment begins slowly. Jacqueline moves through spaces that should feel familiar but do not. She walks through the house where she lived as a child. She sees photographs of herself on walls, frozen at age 6. She sees her old bedroom, preserved in memory rather than reality. She sees evidence of a life interrupted. Her mother does not pressure her. She does not demand immediate emotional connection. She does not expect Jacqueline to simply resume the relationship they had 14 years ago. She understands that they are, in many ways, strangers now. They must rebuild. They must relearn each other. Therapy is suggested and accepted. A counselor specializing in family reunification after parental abduction provides guidance. Sessions occur regularly. They address identity confusion, emotional conflict, trauma processing, and relationship rebuilding. The work is difficult. The work is necessary. Jacqueline describes what it feels like to confront the truth, to realize that the narrative she believed for most of her life was false, to understand that her father lied, to recognize that her mother never stopped searching. The emotions are contradictory: anger, relief, grief, confusion, gratitude, resentment. All exist simultaneously. She does not hate Pablo. She cannot. He was her father. He raised her. He cared for her in his way. But she also cannot deny that what he did was wrong, that his choices stole something irreplaceable, that his actions had consequences beyond his intentions. Her mother listens when Jacqueline speaks about Pablo. She does not interrupt. She does not contradict. She simply allows her daughter to process complicated feelings without judgment. She knows that healing requires honesty, not forced resolution. Jacqueline reconnects with extended family slowly: aunts, uncles, cousins, people she does not remember. They welcome her carefully, offering presents without overwhelming expectation. They give her space to decide how close she wants to become. Social reintegration is challenging. She missed years of cultural context, references to events she did not experience, shared memories she was not part of. She exists between two worlds, the one she knew in Mexico and the one she is learning in the United States. But survival does not require erasing the past. It requires integrating it. Jacqueline begins this process. She acknowledges both lives. She honors both experiences. She recognizes that her identity is shaped by everything that happened, not just what should have happened. A quiet room, a framed childhood photo beside an adult portrait. Two versions of the same person, separated by time and experience, finally coexisting. The case remains officially open. Jacqueline has been recovered. Her status is resolved, but the criminal status is not. Pablo Hernandez is still wanted. The warrant is still active. The investigation is still ongoing. Law enforcement continues monitoring for leads. They maintain communication with Mexican authorities. They track any activity that might indicate Pablo's location. They remain ready to act if opportunity arises. But realistically, the investigation has shifted into waiting mode. Without specific intelligence, without actionable leads, without Pablo making a mistake that reveals his location, apprehension is unlikely. The case is active but stalled once again, this time not searching for a missing child, but searching for a fugitive. Prosecutors maintain readiness. If Pablo is arrested, they will move quickly. Charges are prepared, evidence is organized, legal arguments are documented. But preparation does not equal execution. The system is ready, but the suspect remains beyond reach. The detective closes the physical file and places it in storage. Digital records remain accessible. The case number stays active in national databases, but the daily focus shifts away. Other cases demand attention. Resources are allocated elsewhere. Jacqueline's case becomes one among many, resolved in part, unresolved in totality. Online, the case continues generating discussion. True crime communities analyze the details. They debate whether Pablo will ever be caught. They speculate about his current life. They discuss whether he feels guilt, fear, or defiance. None of them know. None of them can. Jacqueline sees these discussions occasionally. She finds them uncomfortable. Strangers dissecting her trauma, people debating her father's psychology, commenters arguing about justice and forgiveness as if these concepts have simple answers. She learns to avoid them. She learns to focus on her own healing rather than public opinion. She learns that her story belongs to her, regardless of how others interpret it. A digital tracking record displays on a screen: status, active, subject, wanted, Last known. Location unknown. The cursor blinks steadily beside the word waiting. Some cases end with closure, others end with acceptance. This one exists in between. Jacqueline is home, justice is pending, and time continues forward, carrying both resolution and uncertainty. Jacqueline's case becomes referenced in advocacy work. Missing child organizations use her story in training materials. They present it at conferences. They include it in discussions about long-term cases and the importance of never closing files prematurely. They highlight the fact that she was recovered not through investigative breakthrough, but through her own agency in questioning her past. The message is clear: keep information accessible, maintain visibility, provide resources for individuals who might one day question their own identities. Technology and databases matter. Public awareness matters. Persistence matters. National missing child databases retain Jacqueline's information even after her recovery. Her case is marked resolved. Victim located but remains searchable for educational purposes. Families with missing children find her story. They find hope in her return. They find motivation to continue their own searches. Media retrospectives appear periodically. Anniversary pieces marking years since the abduction or the reunion. Documentaries request participation. Podcasts seek interviews. Most requests are declined. Jacqueline and her mother choose privacy over publicity. They have lived their story. They do not need to perform it, but occasional public engagement occurs. Jacqueline's mother speaks at events supporting families of missing children. She shares practical advice. She validates their exhaustion and pain. She offers proof that even seemingly impossible outcomes can occur. Her presence at these events is powerful. She is living evidence that hope is not always misplaced. Legislative discussions about international parental abduction reference Jacqueline's case. Lawmakers debate stronger enforcement mechanisms. They propose improved coordination between countries. They argue that families should not have to wait 14 years for justice. Jacqueline's story becomes a data point in arguments for policy reform. Still, celebration remains muted. Justice has not been served. The person responsible has not faced consequences. Recovery is significant but incomplete. Those who followed the case from the beginning understand this distinction. They are grateful for Jacqueline's return. They remain frustrated by Pablo's evasion. At conferences, Jacqueline's photograph appears on slides, a before image from 2007, an after image from her return. Between them, the words, "Never stop looking." The message resonates, the story endures. And somewhere, another family beginning their own search sees Jacqueline's face and holds on to hope a little longer. Quiet moments reveal the deepest truths. Jacqueline sits at a kitchen table. Her mother prepares coffee. The routine is ordinary, almost mundane. But ordinariness carries weight when it was absent for 14 years. They talk about small things: weather, groceries, plans for the afternoon. The conversations are not dramatic. They are simply present. They are the daily threads that weave relationship back together. Jacqueline sometimes pauses mid-sentence, catching herself in moments of unfamiliarity. She sees her mother's expressions and recognizes them without fully remembering them. She hears phrases that feel both new and ancient. She navigates the strange experience of rebuilding connection with someone who loved her before she can remember being loved. Her mother watches these moments and recognizes the effort required. She sees her daughter processing, adjusting, translating between who she was and who she became. She does not rush. She does not demand. She simply remains present, allowing the relationship to reform at its own pace. Time does not heal. Time transforms. The loss of 14 years does not disappear. It becomes integrated into their shared narrative. They carry it forwards together, not as wound, but as history that shaped them both. A grief and gratitude coexist. grief for what was lost, gratitude for what was reclaimed. Neither cancels the other. Both remain true. Jacqueline keeps a journal. She writes about her experiences. She processes memories from Mexico. She explores feelings about Pablo. She documents her adjustment to life in the United States. The journal is private. It is hers. It is the space where she can be completely honest without protecting anyone else's feelings. Her mother keeps mementos, old photographs, birthday cards she sent to addresses that never responded, articles she saved from the search. She does not display them prominently. She simply keeps them, evidence of years spent hoping, searching, refusing to forget. Those who followed the case watch from distance. They see occasional updates. They see photographs of Jacqueline and her mother together. They see evidence of healing. They celebrate quietly. They hold Jacqueline's story as proof that some endings defy expectation. A table set for two, plates filled, conversation flowing, no dramatic declarations, no cinematic moments, just two people rebuilding a relationship one ordinary day at a time. Time took everything. Time gave back something different, and in the space between loss and recovery, life continues forward.